Step into the world of Sleeping Beauty, a story that has fascinated generations with its themes of enchantment, curses, and the promise of true love. Most of us know it as a charming fairy tale where good ultimately triumphs over evil. But beneath its polished surface lies a history filled with far darker elements. Themes of death, desire, and fate are woven throughout its earliest versions, details that were softened over time as the story evolved into the child-friendly tale we recognize today. But here's the intriguing question. Could Sleeping Beauty be more than just myth? Could the tale of a cursed princess locked in a 100-year slumber have roots in real historical events? If you enjoy uncovering the hidden origins of legendary stories and want to explore the fascinating history behind myths and folklore, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future episodes. Now, before we examine the earliest origins, let's first look at the version most people know today, the tale preserved by the Brothers Grimm in their 1812 collection of folklore. In the version most familiar to us today, the tale begins with a king and queen who long for a child. For years, their hopes go unanswered, until one day a mysterious promise is given. Their wish will soon be fulfilled. True enough, the queen gives birth to a daughter so radiant that her parents can hardly contain their joy. To celebrate, the king declares a magnificent feast, inviting nobles and wise women from across the kingdom. But there's a problem. Only 12 golden plates are prepared, though there are 13 wise women in the land. One is left out, and her absence will shape the child's destiny. At the celebration, each invited guest bestows a gift upon the princess: beauty, virtue, grace, and countless blessings. Just as the 12th woman is about to speak, the hall falls silent. The 13th, furious at being excluded, arrives uninvited. Without pleasantries, she pronounces a terrible curse. On her 15th birthday, the princess will prick her finger on a spindle and die. With those chilling words, she vanishes. Panic spreads through the court. Fortunately, the last of the wise women has not yet spoken. She cannot erase the curse, but she can soften it. Instead of death, she declares, the girl will fall into a deep sleep, one that will last for 100 years. Terrified, the king orders every spindle in the realm destroyed. Yet fate cannot be avoided. The princess grows into a kind and beloved young woman, admired by all who meet her. Then, on the eve of her 15th birthday, curiosity leads her into an abandoned tower of the castle. Behind a small door, she finds an old woman spinning flax. Fascinated by the unfamiliar sight, the princess reaches out to touch the spindle. The moment her finger is pricked, the curse is fulfilled. She collapses into an enchanted sleep, and she is not the only one. Throughout the castle, servants, animals, even the fire in the hearth, all fall silent, suspended in the same magical slumber. As the years pass, a thick wall of thorns grows around the castle, concealing it from the outside world. Stories spread of the beautiful sleeping princess hidden behind the barrier of briars. Many brave princes attempt to force their way through, but the thorns tighten around them, and none return. At last, a century later, a young prince hears the tale. Where others see danger, he sees destiny. As he approaches the thicket, the 100 years come to an end. The thorns bloom into roses and part, allowing him to enter unharmed. Wandering through the silent castle, he climbs the tower and finds the princess lying in eternal rest. Moved by her beauty, he bends to kiss her. Her eyes open. The spell is broken. With her awakening, the entire castle stirs to life once more. Soon after, the prince and princess are wed, and the kingdom rejoices at the restoration of joy and light. Long before the Brothers Grimm recorded their version, Similar stories were told across Europe, and many of them were far from suitable for children. One of the most striking examples comes from 17th century Italy in a collection called The Tale of Tales by Giambattista Basile. His story, titled Sun, Moon, and Talia, is considered one of the earliest surviving versions of what would later become Sleeping Beauty. In this version, a nobleman has a daughter named Talia. At her birth, wise men predict that she will face grave danger from a fragment of flax. In an effort to protect her, her father bans all such material from their home. Yet fate intervenes. One day, as Talia grows into a young woman, she encounters an elderly woman spinning. Fascinated, she tries it herself. A splinter of flax slips beneath her skin, and she collapses as though lifeless. Heartbroken, her father cannot bear to look upon her. He places her body in a remote manner, leaving her resting on a throne draped with fine cloth. Time passes. One day, a king hunting nearby discovers the secluded house. Inside, he finds Talia, still motionless, appearing as if asleep. Captivated by her beauty, he is unable to wake her. He departs, but not before committing an act that modern readers recognize as deeply disturbing. Months later, Talia gives birth to twins, a boy and a girl, while still in her enchanted state. Fairies watch over the infants, guiding them to their mother's breast. One day, one of the babies sucks on her finger, drawing out the splinter of flax. Talia awakens at last, bewildered but alive. Now with 2 children, she quickly learns to love. The king eventually remembers her and returns. Though they spend happy days together, his wife at home soon grows suspicious. Consumed by jealousy, the queen hatches a horrific plan. She demands the children be brought to her under the pretense of the king's command. Her orders are to kill them and serve their flesh at the royal table. But the cook, unwilling to commit such a crime, hides the children and substitutes lamb instead. Not satisfied, the queen orders Talia herself to be burned alive. At the last moment, the king discovers her scheme. Enraged, he condemns the queen to the same fate she had prepared for Talia. When the children are revealed to be safe, the family is reunited, and Talia becomes queen. The story closes with the moral that those favored by fortune will find happiness, even in their sleep. This early Italian version reveals just how unsettling the roots of Sleeping Beauty truly are. It includes themes of power, betrayal, and survival that were written for an adult audience rather than children. Unlike the softened Grimm tale, Sun, Moon, and Talia does not shy away from cruelty or violence. Legends often grow from fragments of real events, and Sleeping Beauty may be no exception. Some historians suggest that the tale could have been shaped by unusual episodes in European history, particularly those surrounding the treatment of royal bodies after death. One striking example is the story of Catherine of Valois, Queen of England, and wife of King Henry V. She died in 1437 at the age of 35 and was buried in Westminster Abbey. Centuries later, during renovations in the early 1500s, her tomb was disturbed. To the astonishment of those present, her body appeared remarkably well preserved, as if she were merely asleep. Rather than being reburied with dignity, Catherine's remains became a macabre attraction. For generations, visitors to the abbey were permitted to view, and even touch, the body of the queen. The diarist Samuel Pepys recorded in 1669 that on his birthday, he held Catherine's body in his arms and kissed her lips, remarking on the unsettling experience of kissing a queen. Over time, her corpse was repeatedly mishandled, and by the 18th century, much of it had been damaged or stolen as souvenirs. It was not until 1878 that Catherine was finally reinterred with respect. This strange fascination with the preserved body of a beautiful woman echoes the imagery of Sleeping Beauty, a young figure lying in an almost lifelike state for centuries, her presence both revered and exploited. But Catherine was not the only historical case that may have inspired the tale. Throughout medieval Europe, the Catholic Church recorded numerous examples of incorruptibility, the belief that the bodies of holy men and women could resist decay after death as a sign of divine favor. These incorrupt remains often became sites of pilgrimage. One well-known case is Saint Catherine of Valois, who died in 1463. Weeks later, when her body was exhumed, it was found to be in an extraordinary state of preservation and even said to emit a sweet fragrance. She was eventually canonized as a saint, and her body, still seated on a chair, remains displayed in Bologna to this day. The parallels to Sleeping Beauty are striking. Women whose beauty endures beyond death, whose untouched bodies become symbols of purity and virtue, and whose preserved forms inspire awe and reverence. These traditions reveal a cultural fascination with the idea of a woman suspended between life and death, incorrupt, preserved, waiting. It is easy to see how such imagery could merge with older folk tales to form the enchanted sleep at the heart of Sleeping Beauty. When we look closely at Sleeping Beauty, it becomes clear that the story is more than a simple fairy tale. Beneath the surface lies a tapestry of symbolism that reflects cultural anxieties and values from the societies that told it. The image of the spindle, sharp, dangerous, and tied to blood, has often been read as a metaphor for the transition from girlhood to womanhood. The prick of the finger and the long sleep can be seen as symbols of menstruation, sexual awakening, or the suspension of innocence until marriage. In the Grimm version, the kiss that awakens the princess suggests the idea that a woman's destiny is completed only when she finds a worthy suitor. The thorns surrounding the castle are also deeply symbolic. They represent barriers of fate and time, opening only when the moment is right. In earlier versions, those same thorns were deadly, entangling and destroying the men who tried to force their way through. This darker image underscores the idea that destiny cannot be rushed, it must unfold on its own terms. Medieval Christian culture may also have influenced the story. The princess's unchanging beauty during her slumber mirrors the incorrupt saints, whose preserved bodies were seen as proof of divine purity. In this way, Sleeping Beauty reflects the ideal of the perfect woman, beautiful, virtuous, untouched by corruption, and ultimately rewarded through divine providence. But while these messages may have resonated centuries ago, they also highlight restrictive views of women's roles, emphasizing passivity, obedience, and the need for male validation. Modern audiences often critique this aspect of the tale, yet its endurance shows the power of myth to adapt and survive across eras. From ancient myths of fate and prophecy, to medieval saints and royal legends, to the pages of Basile and the Brothers Grimm, Sleeping Beauty has transformed again and again. Each retelling reflects the fears and values of its time, and yet the core image endures, a maiden in timeless sleep, awaiting the moment when destiny calls her awake. And that is perhaps the most fascinating truth of all. Even after hundreds of years, Sleeping Beauty still holds us under its spell. So, what do you think? Did the story's origins surprise you? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you'd like to explore more hidden histories of famous tales, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next journey into myth and legend.